Alright, Chef Andrew here to teach you a couple things about mac and cheese. We're going to be basing the sauce for mac and cheese on one of the mother sauces called Béchamel sauce. Just a quick ingredient breakdown for my mise en place here. These 4 items or bowls are going to be for my topping. I'm going to make a breadcrumb topping. So I'm going to need 2 tablespoons of butter, 1 cup of breadcrumbs, panko or otherwise. You can also do crushed crackers, 1 chive bias sliced, and 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, half a teaspoon of onion powder, half a teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of black pepper, and 1.5 teaspoons of dried herbs of your own choosing. Parsley, chives, shallots, whatever dried herb you have is will work for this. For your pasta, you can use any shell pasta or any pasta you would like to use for this. I'm using medium-sized shells for this. You're going to need to be about 8 ounces dry pasta and then cook it according to the package. That should net you about 3 to 4 cups of pasta. For the bechamel sauce, we start with a roux, so we'll need butter, 2 tablespoons, flour, 2 tablespoons, and heavy cream or milk will do. Okay, make sure that's at room temperature too as well. Now I'm going to flavor my bechamel in order to make sure I get the proper flavoring for my mac and cheese. So I'm going to be sauteing some thin sliced shallots, thin sliced garlic. I'll do that in the butter, and then in the cream I'm going to add cayenne pepper, half a teaspoon, celery seed, half a teaspoon, and ground mustard seed, half a teaspoon. Not only will that enhance flavor profile, the mustard also helps bring out the cheesiness or the stringiness of the cheese. And then I have some thinly sliced green onion for garnish. And then I'm using 2 to 3 cups of shredded cheese. You can use any type of cheese you wish. I recommend always using at least 2 kinds of cheese, with at least 1 being a cheddar and 1 being a Swiss type. I'm going to be using a Gruyere. That's similar to Emmentaler, Swiss, a couple other cheeses as well. And then a dry 2-year aged cheddar from Ireland. Alright. We'll get back. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to make our topping so we can set that aside and handle everything else. Alright, so we're going to make our topping first. You're going to start with a relatively warm to hot pan, about medium-high heat. You're going to add in your butter. That'll help cool off the pan a little bit. And then you're going to add in your breadcrumbs. And then you're just going to give that a good mix. We don't want the butter to brown, and we don't want anything to burn. So make sure you vary your heat as you need it. The butter will melt and mix with the breadcrumbs. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and add in all those seasonings, as well as the green onions. I want them to get a little cooked. And then you just mix this until the butter is all completely melted and you have a nice toasty smell, and your breadcrumbs have turned a light to golden brown. Alright, I have a nice light golden brown color on my crust. So I'm going to go ahead and take this off the stove top, set it aside, and then we'll start on the bechamel sauce. Alright, let's go ahead and get started on our bechamel sauce. So starting with a saucepan, I'm going to throw in my butter, start getting it melted. Make sure you're on a medium to medium-low heat because we're going to be sauteing. We're not going to be caramelizing. You want a low and slow heat to sweat the garlic and sweat the shallots. Alright, you'll throw in your shallots and your garlic. Again, this is just to help flavor the oil, to help flavor the roux. And in turn, that'll help flavor the bechamel sauce. Once these have sweated until the garlic and the shallots are becoming almost translucent or see-through, we can add our flour, and I'll be back when that's ready. Alright, it's been about 2 minutes since I've been sweating the garlic and the shallots. So now I'm going to go ahead and add in my flour. We're going to give that a good mix. We want to make sure that the flour gets really well incorporated, so we don't have large clumps of flour in our roux. We want to make sure that it soaked up all that oil from the butter and it's coated all our vegetables properly. And again, this will just help thicken our bechamel sauce. Okay, you will need to, even though we're adding a cheese and it will thicken, you're going to need the bechamel sauce, or the roux, to thicken the bechamel sauce properly, or it won't hold together correctly. Alright, it is all mixed well together, so I'm going to go ahead and add our cream now. And then I'm going to switch over to a whisk. And we want to make sure that the roux gets well incorporated with the cream. It won't feel like it's thickening right away. That's fine. Alright, now I'm going to add my cream flavoring. So my cayenne pepper, my mustard, and my celery seed. And then I'm also going to do a couple spritz of black pepper and a couple spritz of salt. And then I'm going to bring this to a simmer. Make sure you're watching this. Cream or milk has a tendency to expand really fast. It will overflow your pan even if you only put, barely a half an inch or an inch of cream in your pot. Alright. Once this is heated through, I'll be back to finish the sauce. Alright, I've let it simmer for a little bit. It's just coming up to a simmer. And if you have a thermometer, this makes it a lot easier. But if you can get your thermometer to read above 130 degrees, you're ready to go and melt the cheese properly. If it's any higher, you will scorch the cheese and the roux. If it's any lower, the cheese won't melt properly. And as you can see, it's above 136 degrees at the moment. So I'm going to go ahead and start melting our cheese. Make sure you're using your whisk. And you're going to start in small batches. Make sure you're scraping the sides and the bottom. Make sure nothing's being stuck. You're going to turn your temperature down to medium or below that, depending on how you're simmering your sauce. Your sauce should have thickened up nice by now. And we can start doing small handfuls of the cheese at a time. Don't dump it all at once so you have a giant cheese clump. Alright? Do a little bit at a time, and don't add more cheese until it's fully incorporated. Okay? Scraping the sides. It's fully incorporated, so I'll add another handful here. Okay. Again, do not add more cheese until you have fully incorporated the previous handful. Now the ground mustard, not only does it add a nice little tang into the sauce, ground mustard is a great emulsifier, so it'll keep the fats and the water molecules together with very little work. That's the reason we added that to this sauce. It'll also improve the stringy texture of the sauce, so you get more of a ribbon-like cheesy goodness going on here. Okay, I'm going to add the rest of the cheese here. Give that a good mix. Make sure we're scraping the sides, we're scraping the bottom. Alright, sauce looks nice and done. Again, get your spoon. We're testing for nappe, so we can run our finger through it and leave a trail. At this point, just test your seasonings. This one needs a little more salt. I'm also going to put a little more pepper in it. Give this a good mix. Alright, and you should have cooked your pasta by now. So if your pasta's ready, we're just going to add it right into the pan. And give it a good mix. We want every single pasta shell to be filled with cheese and covered in it. Now at this point you can do one of two things. You can serve it, it's ready to go. Your pasta's been cooked properly. It's al dente. Serve it. If you want to bake it, put it into a casserole dish. Top it with your breadcrumbs or any other toppings you want with it. Bake it at 350 degrees for about 15 minutes. Get a nice crusty top and it's all set to go. Otherwise, I'm just going to serve it like this because I love fresh mac and cheese and not baked mac and cheese. I'll come back and I'll teach you how to plate it. Alright, so let's go ahead and plate our mac and cheese. Nice little bowls. I'm pretty sure someone at Dobson High School made this. I bought this at a event at MCC called Empty Bowls. That's where I get a lot of my bowls actually. I really like them. But let's plate our mac and cheese up. So fill your bowl, fill your plates. Bowls I think are best for mac and cheese. Cast iron if you're going to bake it, a casserole dish, however you want to serve this. Okay. White bowls. Alright, bread toppings. Remember these? Nice and golden brown. Okay, we're just going to take all that, we're going to sprinkle it. Alright, green onion for the top. It's going to make a little pile of it right here on the top. And there you have it. Mac and cheese.